Megan, what if I ask you just to start out what you studied in undergrad and maybe what you thought you might end up doing with your life?
So I read classics as an undergrad here in Oxford at the rival college to where I now am, and the reason I chose classics, it was a bit of a toss-up between classics and music.
Okay.
At school, I was very passionate about music,
Okay.
but in the end, I went for classics because it was so utterly broad. It was looking at the whole of civilizations and not just one aspect of
Okay.
them. So I really enjoyed the breadth of the classics course, Latin and Greek literature and civilizations and history and philosophy. Was fabulous.
Was there a particular author or story or something that grabbed you or time period? Or...
Yeah, I specialised in Horace.
Okay.
I loved Horace
Okay.
because
Why
I thought
Horace?
I thought he had some lovely wit, but also beauty of writing,
Okay.
and also very incisive, insightful, and yeah, I liked his style.
Okay.
And he was quite human, I think, as well.
Okay. Insightful in what way? What's Horace help us?
Gracious, you're
Help us
taking me
see.
back now to my 20-year-old self. He wrote some good political stuff on the sort of Augustan era. He was quite a subtle commentator, I think, on the reign of Augustus, and I'm thinking of the Roman Odes, book 3. Numbers 1 to 6. You see, I still do remember something of my undergraduate days.
And what did you think you were going to do after you did a classics degree? What
My-
did you envision yourself doing?
My parents are both teachers. Well, they're then retired now, but I always thought I was going to be a teacher. So I thought I was going to be a classics teacher. I was just going to do the whole teacher thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, my brother's now a teacher, my sister-in-law's a teacher, so I'm definitely the black sheep in the family.
Okay, so that's makes for an interesting question. How did you divert from the teacher track there into eventually doing a DPhil and pursuing ordained ministry?
Yeah. Well, it came in the other order, actually.
Okay.
So I got ordained and then I did the DPhil.
Okay. Okay.
But so when I was an undergraduate, I've mentioned that I was passionate about music. I was a choral scholar at Exeter College, and so that meant that I was in chapel quite a lot. I always loved chapel anyway. From being a teenager, I was a server at my home church, which was Lichfield Cathedral. My family had lots of connections there. My brother had been in the choir, so I'd been brought up going to hear choral evensong from a very early age. So I went along to chapel quite a lot, and my college chaplain, I got on with him quite well, and he started telling me I should get ordained. I'd never heard anything so ridiculous. So I told him to go and pick on someone else, but he didn't. And then other people, completely unconnected, started saying to me, "You should get ordained," or, "You'll do a lovely job behind the altar," or whatever it might be in different sort of settings. Anyway, so I started sort of thinking about it. I'd never considered it before because I remember when the ordination of women first came in. It wasn't entirely warmly embraced, and my parents are wonderfully traditional, but they didn't immediately warm to the idea of women getting ordained. So of course I'd never thought about it, anyway, so various people started telling me I should get ordained. I started thinking a bit about it. And then it came to Christmas in the year 2000 when I was in my third year as an undergraduate. And I was sitting Christmas Day in the pews. Dad was, they were all busy doing other things. I was on my own. So I got chatting to a local principal of a college. And he said, "So what are you going to do afterwards, 4 years in classics?" I said, "Well, there's a part of me that would be really interested in doing a second BA in theology." He said, "What on earth for? Why would you do a second BA after just completing a first one that lasts 4 years?" And I said, "Well, I guess it would be with a view to, possibly the church." And anyway, we shrugged it off as totally self-indulgent because no one would do 2 BAs kind of practically back to back. And we just sort of joked, and so it was clear I was going to do a PGCE and be a teacher. Anyway, and then the bishop was preaching, and he said, 2,000 years ago, Mary accepted her calling. 1,300 years ago, and ever since, because they were celebrating the anniversary of the foundation of the cathedral as well. He said people have been accepting their callings in this place, as stonemasons or musicians or priests or whatever. Will you accept your calling? And I suddenly thought, oh my word, I really do have to think about this, don't I? Anyway, as if I needed God to write it in the sky, I turned to the chap at the end of the service, and there was no happy Christmas or goodbye or nice to meet you or anything normal. He simply eyeballed me and said, actually, I think you'd really regret it if you didn't do that second BA in theology, and left.
That's remarkable.
I thought that too. Mind you, that's what I needed. So a week later, I told my parents, New Year's Eve, memorable New Year's Eve. And I said, I think I might have a vocation to ordination. Dad said, well, I saw that coming a mile off. And they've always been immensely supportive.